Imagine having a reverse Yelp, where we rate customers on their attitudes, manners, and how well they tip. What review would you leave? Apparently the basic front desk bell is too complicated of a mechanism to operate for this person. Also demanded that I reduce her rate because we ran out of complimentary coffee and she couldn't wait the 2 minutes it would take me to make a new pot. Insulted the housekeepers. 20 stars edit. Wow. My first silver. Thank you, kind stranger. This is the exact type of person who will also leave a ranting Yelp review on the lack of coffee and poor housekeeping. I always feel rude ringing the front desk bell. Don't know why, because they have it there for a reason. Nice, pleasant man. Always orders the same sandwich every time, making preparing for him simple despite the complicated sandwich. Tips well, never talks longer it takes to complete his order. Also, the only male regular over 50 that doesn't leer at my underage coworker. 5 stars. Love this. On the other hand, came to dinner with his 14-year-old niece and their family. Was leery and flirtatious the whole meal. When I brought their check he asked, in front of their mixed age party of 7, can you do 3 ways? But I'm sure you get that all the time. 2/5, because someone else at the table called him a pig and tipped me 25%. Edit. I don't know if it makes it better or worse, but I work in casual fine dining. The bills are between $100 to $300. Tipping 25% is not normal. That's why I was grateful. Lots of people tip more generously as steps of service and formality increase. Dude, that's me. My local Subway knows me and my order. I remember once I went to the post office next door first, and as I was walking into Subway the dude inside was coming out to come find me because he had started to make my order. Love that place. Staff are great and happy. Same with the Hungry Jacks over the road. I come through the drive-thru on my pink motorcycle and the manager gives me that point of I know what you want. And I'd get 2 barbecue cheeseburgers and a large fry straight away. Left him a good review on the corporate page. Duck and love my retail work regulars. She walked into the store and complained that outside smelled of gasoline. I told her we would address that issue as soon as an employee became available to do so. Customer is apparently unaware they are pumping gas at a gas station when complaining about the scent of gas. Perhaps she could consider not huffing it while filling her tank. Edit. Holy shnikes, my most upvoted comment ever is about someone sniffing gasoline. I worked at a gas station for like 7 years through high school and college, and oh my god, why are people like this? Feo. Then on the flip side you have people out there huffing it like there's no tomorrow and come in and say I love the smell of gasoline. She lied about her hair history, wanted white blonde in one session on her virgin dark hair that the strand test determined was a lie. Said she could do it herself at home, turned hair orange instead. Came back to get a color correction, and after explaining why she couldn't have blonde she said she'd settle for anything but orange and lighter than the dark. Gets a beautiful chocolate/caramel color and cries because it's not blonde and too expensive, and also leaves no tip. -5 stars, not worth my time. You must have met my mom. She was going through a rough time post-divorce, had done a home bleaching alternating sometimes with the cheapest hair bleach at the cheapest stylist she could get to cover her grays for several months. Decided she wanted to go brunette once. My sister, in cosmetology school, said don't use the natural hair color you bought, it will turn your hair orange. Guess what? Emergency trip to the stylist after that for mom. Old McDonald. I'm sure it wasn't cheap that time. I'm 100% on your side in this situation. But, in what country is tipping a hairdresser normal? Came in, ordered, ate their food in silence, left minimal mess and a reasonable tip, then buggered off. My perfect customer. 5 stars. This is my husband and I when we have a night out. Lol. We are usually too tired from the week and all our other obligations to be very exciting dinners, so we sit there quietly and send memes to each other, then get dessert to go. Edit 2 to 2. I always give the table a quick wipe when I'm done eating at a restaurant. Nothing special, just grab a napkin and brush the crumbs I dropped onto my tray or plate and head out. Takes about 2 seconds. The number of times I've heard people making snide or rude comments at me doing that is astounding. Yeah, people are being paid to clean the table, but that doesn't mean I should force my mess onto them. The lady who yelled at me on the second day of my first job over the price of milk can have a solid 1 star. Christ. Could you not? I used to work in a supermarket. Duck. The aisles are too close. Too far away from each other. I don't like your trolleys. Change them. Sometimes I can't find what I'm looking for. Are you real manager? I don't like your eggs. Any of them. Have you spoken to the farmers yet? Where is your manager? I'm the manager. No. The real manager. What's wrong with your apples? How come when I buy the same product from you only competition? It tastes better. That's flour. I know it is. But my food tasted better. Stop putting stuff on sale. My kids make me buy them stuff. I don't like the music. Change it. I can't afford Easter eggs. In March. Clearly this is your fault. Take them off the shelf. Of all the stores in the country. Cause how dare you set that price? Stupid nunt kept trying to order a cheeseburger without cheese, even though I was trying to save her money by suggesting to instead order a hamburger. Fast forward 30 seconds, and she paid for the cost of a cheeseburger, but without the cheese. I hope she choked on it. 1 star. I've heard this kind of thing happening a lot. What goes through people's heads when they do this kind of stupid? Used to work at a large pizza chain. I one time had a customer ask for 2 pizzas, one half pepperoni and half cheese, and the other one half pepperoni and half cheese. I politely pointed out I could make a whole pepperoni pizza and a whole cheese pizza. She got very upset. It was a frustrating time in my life. Very polite but also incredibly awkward for some reason. Saying thank you 5 times when the waiter sets down their drink. Waiting 20 minutes to pay because the waiter looks busy. If that's what you meant, I'm your customer. Damn, this is me. Makes me think of the Black Mirror episode where everyone has a social score and others can see it. Yeah, that was a nice episode. By nice I mean no pig sex or murderers caught in a torture loop. I ended up not watching all of them. It got to be too much. Came here to say this. Do you want to live in a Black Mirror episode? Because this is how it starts. And if you hadn't noticed, we are a little bit busy here already with One Stranger timeline. Came on opening weekend of one of the biggest movies of the year 5 minutes before the showtime, and then was shocked they'd have to stand in line for their concessions. Then complained to management that they missed their movie. Like, what did they think was going to happen? Like we'd have a reserved placed in line for them because of their obvious VIP status as King Doucher Lord of Aland. Brought infant to rated R movie, then complained that it was too scary and demanded a refund. 0 stars. This. I worked at a theater for 2 years and still cannot understand why people think they're so entitled. Her kids dropped the popcorn, so she asked me for a broom to let them clean it up themselves. I said it wasn't necessary, but she insisted that she wanted to raise them to be conscious of the fact that when they make a mess someone has to clean it up. Nice lady. 5/5. I thought the lady was going to end up going nuts for not getting the broom, but this actually turned out really wholesome. I wish the people that came to my restaurant could teach their kids like this. Yes, that's like the parents that refused to take their kids home until they finished cleaning up their mess in my program. Those kids are so much more well behaved than the kids who get picked up and have to leave right away. Those parents that are quick to leave don't care how many other kids and or staff members have to clean up their kids' mess, so their kids never think it's a big deal to have others clean up after them. A customer walked in the front door of my very closed, curbside only pub today and asked if we had any steak. He had to ignore a giant sign saying, "Please stay outside, we will bring your phone/online order out to you." 0 out of 5 stars. I almost had a rage stroke. Edited to add, this is the second time has done it. One of the regulars at the DQ did this too. The doors were locked but I try every day. Found out he had dementia. If it's an older man, he may have an excuse, even if he doesn't know/can't remember. I watched a woman try to open the door to Krispy Kreme for several minutes. She walked past the cones and caution tape blocking the entrance, ignored the signs on the door, and started yanking on the handle. When that didn't work, she started yelling and banging. I can't understand how some people are so dense. Guy comes in the middle of the festival, no reservation, by car, and blames me because it took him 2 hours. to go the entrance of the city to my hotel because there are 200,000 people walking around the streets and police barrages to help the flow of pedestrians. Then he blames me again because he did all of this for nothing because we are full. What did he think would happen? Walking in with no reservation during the city's largest festival? 1 star. Would not recommend. Chap comes into the packed restaurant on Mother's Day. Has mad as hell because various local roads are shut and it took him an hour to get here instead of 10 minutes. Does not have a reservation. Has his whole family with him. His wife breaks down in tears while has yelling at me for not posting on Facebook that we are full for lunch. I get the wife and his mother in while he rings restaurants to get a table. They finally leave and the wife hands me a tip. I believe they ended up waiting for a table and Nandas 0 stars for him, 3 stars for the wife. Sheesh. Just give him that special room that you secretly keep for important people. For free. I just wish the lady that cuts my hair would discreetly tell me if I'm a good tipper or not. Edit. While I'm at it, how much goes on the tip line of a takeout receipt? I'm just making that shiz up as I go. Totally not ready for reverse Yelp. You are the type of person who would do well on reverse Yelp. I work in the food industry. Takeout, none, unless something is deserving of it. Such as a giant meal for 10 plus. Crazy complicated menu. Ordering moments before they close, etc. Gap. She practically drinks all the salsa and I keep having to give her refills. Her chip to salsa ratio is seriously questionable. Otherwise, she's nice enough. Edit. I misread the question. I thought it asked what review would someone leave of me. I'm the salsa lover. Chips are bullshit. Salsa is everything. Practically drinks all the salsa. I eat salsa at reasonable crunchy salsa spoon to salsa ratios. But I'm definitely one to basically eat the guacamole or queso dip with a funnel. Seriously, as a preteen once I asked my parents if I could drink the last small amount of queso left in the bowl because we were out of chips, and I'm pretty sure they said yes just to see if I would actually do it. I did. I stayed at an Airbnb in China and my host reviewed me. Google translation. Very handsome big boy. I used to be a case manager for Airbnb and was regularly asked to audit reviews for violations of TOS. My favorite one that I had to leave up BTW was Greg and his wife were a lovely couple. Would love to host them again. 5 stars. Greg wanted the review taken down. His wife wasn't on the trip. I love it. Uber has a system like this where they rate passengers. I like it. It means good customers get full ratings and are more likely to get drivers responding to them. Bad customers will go to the back of the line. I'm proud to say that I'm a 5-0 star passenger, which really isn't that big an accomplishment. It just means that I was well behaved and sat there like a normal person while they drove me to my destination. That's all it takes. Customer service swings both ways in my opinion. Good customers should get good service. Bad customers should be given the bare minimum or thrown out if they are abusive or disruptive. That's what I did when I worked retail. You were nice. I'd bend over backwards for you. If you were an asshole, I would do the absolute bare minimum. But then, I was fortunate that my retail job was just extra cash and I didn't really need it. Wow. 5-0? Damn, that's both incredible and a bit strange. Not one driver has given you 4 stars, or such few in so many trips that it doesn't show. Impressive. I had a good rating, and that still was only 467. Drunken fool tried to return half bottle of booze because it tastes off. Watch him get in his car and promptly called police to report drunken driver. I love it. Perfect. The drunk duck. Lol. That reminds me of a time I bought a case of a local brewer's seasonal beer. I was happily drinking my way through it when my wife, now ex, started a bottle and said this is off. My nephew works for the brewery, so she sent him a picture, and, picture after picture, he ends up reporting the bottle shop to the brewery as they are not supposed to be selling full cases according to their agreement. Now I can't buy a good case from the local because of that. On the flip side, was going away for a weekend with friends, and on the way out of town, found a shop that was selling a case of their beer. It was a limited edition of, I Choose You Not, what I consider to be one of the finest NEPAs I've ever had, and I've had NEPAs cooled in the snow on the patio in New England. I had spent 2 years asking my nephew when they were going to brew that one again, and here it was before my known eyes. Sent him a photo of the case and the boot, telling him I'd won the lottery. He replied I had and asked me where I bought it. Told him to go duck himself. I love my family. This girl was clearly having a bad day. She seemed really angry and upset. I tried my best to help, but there wasn't much I could do. I took her order, served her as usual. She got a call and walked out of the restaurant. I went to the table and found a $50 bill and a sweet little note about how her husband died, and she really appreciates my patience. 5 stars. Best customer. You sound like a nice employee. You are a good person. Threw a drink at my lead. 0/10 get ducked sideways with a par leaks. You ducking after birth. Poetry right there. I'm curious, what is meant by lead? This stupid old man threw a tantrum over canned noodles. I told him it was on the shelf, but he insisted there were bags in the boxes on top. I told him the boxes were full of the same canned brand, but he didn't listen and started to cause a scene. I went to get my card with a step stool on it to show him, but he started hitting his cart yelling damn it. I got so angry I ripped the box off the top shelf and canned everywhere. He just said, guess they were cans, and walked off. 20 minutes later he comes back and buys the cans. 0/10. Who off? That reminds me of that Malcolm in the Middle scene with the hot dog toys. Peekaboo doesn't eat. I've talked about this idea many times. It would be so magical. I greeted the table and they didn't even look at me. They just said water. So I get their waters and their food order, which was difficult because they asked a million questions that could have been answered by reading the menu. That's what it's there for. Then when I'm trying to deliver the food, no one was paying attention and they couldn't remember what they even ordered. They were just overall kind of rude and annoying, but they left 18%, so that's better than what I thought they were going to leave. 3/5 stars. Can't really recommend. I'm Bob and I have served food, so I do sympathize. But wait, staff need to know who ordered what. Asking a large table who ordered the is just obnoxious for everyone, including the waiter. I love people that act like him an enormous a-hole for daring to approach their table for an order. I work in casual fine dining, and I've been doing this for a long time. I don't interrupt conversation. I have a laundry list of steps of service I follow. Why are you at a restaurant if you literally didn't want to interact with a single other person? It is my job to talk to you about food and drinks. I know exactly how many seconds you've been seated since I greet you. Hey, how is everyone? Welcome in. We're not ready, okay? It'll come back in a few minutes. Aren't you going to explain the menu? And that's just the beginning of a wonderful hours-long relationship that consists of strangers wishing I was dead and me wishing they had ever set foot in a restaurant before. Literally hunkered down in the basement with the gunman upstairs, detectives on the phone, another pregnant, crying customer and all the staff, and this jackass still had the nerve to ask if his watch was done being repaired before the first shot rang out. Then proceeded to scream at the detectives that this was a huge inconvenience. He had clients waiting at court and needed this to be over with. Sorry sir, it'll go upstairs, and nicely tell the gunman to please stop because you have somewhere to be. It'll gladly risk my life for you. A giant douche. On a different note, I'm sorry that happened. You were the most unreasonable person I have ever met. Every single person, from the ushers, who are volunteers, to the other patron who offered their seat to you, wanted to help. I wanted to help you. I know when you are unable to transfer out of your wheelchair, it is a frustrating situation. It must be absolutely maddening when the house manager cannot remove the seat in the center of the theater, which was bolted to not only the cement floor, but to the rest of the seats in the row, so you can put that wheelchair there. I'm sorry that our other seating were at the front and rear of the theater and not where you purchased your ticket. I'm sorry that when you called our box office, you did not mention your inability to transfer out of your wheelchair. But you did not need to yell and curse in front of everyone waiting to watch Miss Sagan. You did not have to hit me. You are the first and last person I ever issued a refund to, just to get you to stop screaming when you needed to get back to the lobby and were unable to push your wheelchair back up the ramp. I again tried to help you. First, I offered to push you up myself, but you insisted I should not touch the wheelchair. Please note, no one had ever called me a F-word/C word before. Kudos to your creativity. I then offered to find your now absent husband/boyfriend. It wouldn't have been hard to find him, for he was at the bar ordering his third whiskey. Lobby had only been open for 20 minutes at that point. But again, you vehemently declined assistance. But I must say, it was rather astounding when you stood up and proceeded to walk the wheelchair back to the box office of your own volition. I say astounding, because when your husband/boyfriend asked why you were leaving, and you said, because you didn't want to sit in our ducked up seats. I then assumed you had a condition whereupon sitting for long periods of time caused great discomfort. I then asked if there was a way to further accommodate you so that you may see the show. Then your husband called you an old bat who was just trying to get free tickets. She's not disabled, it's all an act. I bid you both a good night. 1 star. I would have given you 0 stars, but I reserve that for the person who tried to kill me because a queue line wasn't moving fast enough for their liking. TL. Doctor, woman tried to fake needing a wheelchair to get free tickets, which she almost got until her significant other ratted her out. Not the worst experience I've had in nearly 15 years of customer service gigs, but it was close. Someone tried to kill you? Holy cheese, that's nuts. Becky and Judy, 5 stars. After 2 glees of Tempranillo, Judy is going to order a half glab. Ask if she went to physical therapy today for her shoulder. If she did, give her the full glab. Becky will wink at you. This is wholesome and I love it. Started out okay, but interaction quickly declined when customer was mildly inconvenienced by new guidelines put in place due to an ongoing global pandemic. Should have spoken to manager about abysmal behavior. Lost faith in customers as a brand. Won't be using again until my bosses make me, because their money is more important than my safety. If I'm essential, how come they get to treat me like freshly churned peacock cheese? 0/10 stars. Horrible idea. With design flaws. Family came into the restaurant today and ordered a good amount of sushi rolls and some chicken hibachi. There was no problem with their payment or their demeanor at first, but be careful. Looks can be deceiving. As soon as we provided their kids with forks, they started flinging rice at each other. Parents didn't even bat an eye, like this was a normal thing, so I'm sure they have done this at other places too. They left the area around them looking like the kids were playing Splatoon and trying to cover as much surface area as they could with rice. Didn't leave a tip for the mess I was left to clean up, and didn't even give an apology. Would not recommend serving this family while their inklings are around. This is the second time today I've read this. Both times I've been livid at these people. Parent is both a noun and a verb. Parent those children. She only ever tips the coins left from the transaction, usually a 0.05. While waiting for her order, she loudly explains the most recent conservative talking points to everyone in earshot. On her last visit, which was on the day shelter in place was announced here in SF, she spent 20 minutes ranting about how only businesses had the authority to close themselves down. Truly hope never to serve her again. 1 star. Also in San Francisco, I love when people leave change as a tip, especially when they give you verbal tips. You were amazing. Thank you so much. This was such an awesome experience, which cannot pay my rent. I did have a gentleman grab my wrist a few months ago and demand to know who I voted for. I told him I wrote in Nixon. Give her the change only in coins and see if you can trick her tiny brain into leaving it all as a tip. 1 star. Took a chiz in the sink. Wait, I can chiz in a sink and still keep a star? Hell yes. STFU and take my money. Stupid bitch ordered a frappuccino with no ice, then proceeded to be pissed at us there were no ice in it. When we asked her if she wanted ice, she screamed at us and said no. I hope she stubs her toe every day for the rest of her life and she gets cheated on. I would give 0 stars, but Yelp makes me give 1, so I guess good job at wasting space. Such customers honestly make me wonder if they just didn't listen to themselves, are not mentally there, or are following a plot I don't get. The curly-haired young guy with glees and a baggy skater vibe dress sense. Clearly smokes hella weed, comes in high and orders food, and is always just so polite, like as polite as a customer can get. sits on a chair and waits for his order, and has this stupid smile on his face staring at nothing like 3 times a week. I don't know you, but I love you, bro. Edit. I should mention, I'm a stoner myself, so I love the guy extra 10/10. He's my favorite customer. This is literally me most lunches during non-pandemic times, getting tequila after my first smoke of the day. There are some places that don't appreciate my weed smell or bloodshot eyes, but as I'm super polite, friendly, and generously tip on tequilas while quietly waiting. There are a number of haunts I frequent who I know appreciate a decent regular customer and forgive a stoner like me. Thanks for treating your regular stoner with compassion. Has just trying to get lunch XD. I work in a non-profit performing arts theater, and despite what people think, cancelling shows isn't as easy as saying it's cancelled. Even if you're producing it, the board has to approve it, including the playwright and director. The unions involved have to be made aware of the situation and agree to the plan, and then you have to pay the salaries of everyone involved in full, even though there's no show. It's a long process with a lot of moving parts. And these ducking and grateful rich folks sitting on their lily whiteys keep calling and emailing our call center, where I work, to passive aggressively tell us off for not cancelling shows fast enough, and demanding refunds on tickets/donations, and then claiming they'll never come again, because we don't care about them and their well-being. Some of them are even straight up racist, and threatening the theater. Rating is -10. These low-clad actors make early 2000s Paris Hilton and THR Kardashians look sane. As a business owner, you have no ducking idea how badly I want this. I know it's literally like the storyline of a Black Mirror episode, and I realize how badly it can turn, but FFS, I've dealt with some truly insane and miserable as well as a few miserable insane people. People treat you like you're a robot. Beep boop, I'm a business robot, man. Everything is always your fault. The second you say anything that doesn't sound like pre-scripted customer service speak, you're being unprofessional. I'm starting to identify more and more with the soup Nazi. No soup for you. After not reading our cards only sign, she tried to pay in cash. After being informed we couldn't take cash, she threw a temper tantrum and cursed us out 0.5 stars. Edit. The only reason we are not accepting cash is due to the pandemic. Usually, we really don't care. This one has always caught me off guard when I see it. In the US, at least, cash is the legal tender. Like, stores used to have to deal with those damn coin ladies. Is it legal to reject the currency of the realm? I don't mind. I've literally chosen store A over store B, just because I know I can pay more quickly. She whined that there's no sign saying she can't pay with her Discover card. Told her we have a sign on the glad door behind her, which she just walked through. She turned her head 20 degrees to look at a wall and said I still don't see it. Continued to grumble about not being able to use her Discover card before pulling out a Visa. It was a $15 transaction. Lady is missing out on those points. Really that huge a burden, dummy? Sour attitude, rude, not even a smile. Do not recommend 1/5 stars. A review for me would say Walden stop saying /overused thank you every time I refilled her cup, stacked the plates, and wiped the table, picked up all the food her daughter threw, and left a note on the receipt with the tip. Mouthful of food every time I checked on her, asked for lots of bread, ate off her husband's plate, and was very loud. What a roller coaster. Settled on 4 stars. Well done. Shout out to the man that doesn't know what the duck wontons are in a wonton soup and yelled at me for not taking them out even though he only said no noodles, which are not wontons, rather the crackers for the soup. You stupid old man, I hope you die. I cried in the bathroom hole. 1 star. This rich, entitled bitch spent the entire time making me run my ass off for her 12 top and was never satisfied, let alone appreciative. I kept serving them with a ducking smile, which wasn't always easy. When it came time to drop the bill, I left it on the table and informed them that the tip was already included since they were a party of more than 8 people, so there was no need to add any extra unless they wanted to. She literally stood up. She stood up and started freaking out in an entire dining room full of people about how she shouldn't have to pay because she had to ask me for cheese the entire meal. Bitch, it was a buffet. What else could you possibly need? Plus, I got you everything your precious little heart desired. I mean, I guess I cold offered to secure it, but I digress. She bitched her way to the general manager, who was always an absolute pushover, and let her go without tipping a single ducking penny. This woman is horrible to serve. Do not ever accept her table. You will 100% regret it. I've seen her come in since, and even if she sits in my section, I always give her table away to somebody else. No ducking way am I ever even trying to look at you again, lady. Get some ducking decency. I hate your manager. Very friendly, usually gets a root beer to start, and a coffee after their meal, eats out on break from lunch daily, usually wants quick service and minimal interruptions, sometimes eats with a client, usually tips well, made many additional requests throughout the meal during peak dinner hour, left the table disgustingly messy, did not tip well. This guest is awesome, likes to take suggestions, so offer a drink, and make sure to have some lesser known dishes memorized. Will talk to you for as long as you let them. I would mostly try to let other waiters know what to expect from tables. Worked in a grocery store years ago. Kid keeps running up and down the aisle. Turns a corner and smacks right into a corn syrup end cap. What a total mess. Kid is covered in syrup. Mom comes up to me and demands I find clothes for her child to wear. Without skipping a beat, I asked her if she wanted paper or plastic. Would not recommend that mom shopping there again. Without skipping a beat, I asked her if she wanted paper or plastic. 5/5 perfect response. Used to work at a home improvement store. Signs everywhere say not to try and grab product at the upper shelves or use ladders. This guy was trying to climb the shelving a bit to get a bucket of asphalt filler, really heavy, even though there was stuff right on the bottom. Spilled it on himself and demanded to be compensated for his pants and his work hours lost. Manager said he shouldn't have done that, but she'd help him out anyway. Told him to get a pair from Walmart under $50 and come back with the receipt. So he goes to the local hunting/sporting goods place and gets a pair for about $90. She gave it to him anyway. Guy was still in it to her the whole time. This bitch lives in the apartment building all the way at the back of the complex, which spans acres, populated by dozens of the worst speed bumps you can imagine, like they'll tear up your car's suspension if you go over them faster than walk speed. Now she texts me saying to drop off her food at the door and leave it there because she wants a contact-free delivery. Fine. I get to the building, but there is no apartment 109 in this building. Call her, no answer. Text, no answer. Why in the name of all that is holy would you not answer your phone after placing an expensive order for food delivery? Couldn't get an answer, so I'm having a Thai feast tonight, bitch. Usually I give the food to beggars, but yeah, not always. Close bracket. I live in an apartment complex and my apartment is in the very back, and the apartments are laid out in an entirely nonsensical fashion. I get such anxiety ordering because of stuff like this, and every time the delivery person feels the need to tell me how hard it was to find the apartment. I put detailed directions every time, but they always get lost. I really don't know what else to do. It's really frustrating. Right now, all good. I miss my customers so much, even the bad ones. I told my least favorite customer in the world the other day to say hello to his wife for me. I hate her too. They are both awful. But I think he was about to cry. He literally stopped in his tracks and turned around and said, "We miss you. This sucks." And you know what? He's a rick. But I miss him too. Maybe this is a reset to us all. Maybe when we get out this mess, we can all do that. Maybe we can just not be assholes and take each other for granted. Maybe we can appreciate all of the things we take for granted. And if not, I'm still going to be happy to complain about that asshole at table 3. He's a rick, but at least I get to complain about him again. The sheer magnitude of optimism coming from this comment has warmed my cold retail working heart. So thanks for that. 3. Had a customer that was on the phone through the whole order while I was trying to make her burrito and kept asking what she wanted in it, and she wouldn't answer, so I started to wrap it up, but then she began to yell at me because she wasn't done yet and began to bitch about how I needed to do my job better. Meanwhile she was still talking on the phone and we had 30 other people in line because it was rush hour. 0 stars. Maybe try not to be such a Karen next time. Reading this made my blood boil. constantly told me how to do my job, which I've been doing for 10 years. I'm amazed she knew so much that she just didn't do it herself and saved the labor costs. Pro tip: the worst private customers to work for in civil construction are generally mid-40s single women. It blows my mind when people call and say they can't log into their VPN. I tell them it's their corporate login, so if they're screen sharing with me on Slack they obviously know their credentials. They say no, it's not their corporate credentials. I tell them to try it. Watch them wiggle their mouse around, then say, it's still not working. I had to tell him, you know I can see your screen, right? And he rage quit the call. I think it extends beyond civil construction. Kelsey brought her entire tribe to get tattooed. All 10 of them are turning 18, but only Kelsey is getting a tattoo. She refused to listen to my advice on the size and kept insisting I make it smaller and smaller, specifying she would like it just a medium size, but really dainty and cute. When it came time to do the tattoo, she wasn't wearing the right clothing, even though she'd thought about her horoscope sign for weeks. Her friends convinced her to move it several times before we discovered the initial placement I made was the right one. When it came time to pay, she tried to haggle my price by telling me she had a cousin that got his own gun and that he would do it for a third of my price. After all that, even though I did it perfectly, she had no concept of tipping 0 stars. You're supposed to tip tattooists? Till. Oh my god, my artist would love to have this person. His shop has had to deal with so many crackheads and drunks, this would be a walk in the park. I've seen mine. I have a pool hall that I have been haunting regularly for 7 years. I'm known well enough that I never leave any form of collateral when I run a tab. Sometimes one server will start my tab for another if they are tied up briefly. Sometimes they switch sections mid-shift. Sometimes the server is new or rarely works the shifts that fall upon my clockwork patronage. For whatever reason, there is a standing parenthetical note next to my name in their post system. I highly doubt it is unique to me. I make it a point to be courteous, friendly, patient, even though they are often neglectful and loiter around the bar far too much, and I never hit on them or mistake their friendliness for flirtation, because it's super chisty to harrow a person who is cornered by a job that requires them to be nice to you. Sometimes I settle up at the pose and I get a glance and insight into how they view me deep down. Dream Rocky tips: I find this amusing because I've worked in enough pool halls to know that this is actually notable intel to share with coworkers. So, it took me quite a long time to realize that you were talking about point of service and not piece of chiz. I thought that you were saying that you were unjustly labeled there. For some reason, I can't understand this comment at all. It's like it isn't even in English. A middle-aged lady insulted the staff, yelled Valentine's Day is meant to be about me, when she was served a fish 0.0000001mm smaller than her husband's in length, refused to pay for said fish after eating the whole thing, asked for a finger bowl to clean her fingers, threw a tantrum when she saw there was no lemon with the bowl. I went and personally cut her up some lemon for the finger bowl. When I gave it to her, she told me my attitude was disgusting because I smiled too much, made me sweep away a puddle for her so she didn't get her shoes wet. She could have easily walked around the puddle, but no, she insisted it's Valentine's Day. I don't have to walk around the puddle. Today is about me. 0/10 didn't leave a tip, and I hope she never breeds. Who the duck would marry a creature like that? I guarantee that it's not just Valentine's Day that's all about me. Sounds like the kind of person that thinks every day is about her. This man can't seem to grasp the basic concept of why films have age ratings and why his 9-year-old was not allowed to watch Sausage Party. That's a strange thing, isn't it? Ratings were made so you can know if you can take your kid to it, but parents don't seem to understand. Likewise, they think animated movie means for kids. Stupid dastard didn't understand that just because the other McDonald's had something doesn't mean this one does. Sorry, we aren't allowed to sell buffalo sauce here, sir. Trust me, if we could, we would. 1 star. Chase me across the parking lot with a cattle prod. 1 star. What story time? You have to get rid of this tip thing, America. The problem is, that means they have to pay people a living wage. Also get rid of that not showing the full price until you have to pay. It's so dumb. Even though it's only happened to me with online purchases, it's so stupid being told something will cost $35 and when I get to the paying screen, do you accept this charge for $42? Like bitch, just say what I'm paying, not a random number that is unrelated to what I'm paying. You know fully well how much I'll have to pay. Left me a tip that looked like a $10 bill, but when you unfolded it, it was just a prayer. Hope they rot in hell. I would leave them 0 stars if I could. 5 stars for this sweet southern lady that comes in and is kind to all of us. 0 stars to this insane boomers who always orders a large unsweetened tea with 2 Splendor and 2 Equal because she's mentally insane and has a horrible temper. 0 stars. Followed me around during my graveyard shift asking me where to find a prostitute or strip club and then talked about how he loves to suck Rick in prison. Took photos of my boobs after trying and failing to record me saying I love big black cock because I refused and saying that he can tell I shave my privates. The only upside is he got himself banned from every establishment in our province and I never have to see him again because he was an American tourist. This really scared me. I'm glad to hear this predatory pose was banned. Pooped in a display toilet. Nuff said. I always thought there should be a Yelp type thing for rental properties and landlords. Type in the address or landlord's name. 1 star. Freezing and moldy in winter. Landlord didn't give a duck. Didn't they already implement this in China? Zing. Amy's baking company, they didn't like the food and send it back. Probably because they are cyberbullies. Remember them from Kitchen Nightmares? Tells you what I have been watching all day in quarantine. Did a wink wink nudge nudge motion when telling me she would really prefer to hire a CNA from a similar culture to her own. Called the highly skilled and polite CNA I sent her the N-word and refused to let her into the home. I billed her for the CNA's time anyway and she let it go to collections on principle. 0 stars. Would not recommend. A Karen today came up to me demanding for us to make her a vegetarian burger. So I simply told her that this is Taco Bell. She did not take that too well and started yelling. I told her to please stop but she continued. So I would like to give her 0 stars ma'am. This is a Taco Bell. Black Mirror, nosedive. They called it social credit. You get rating based on your behavior. Everyone ends up fake AF. Is better than showing that you're a piece of chiz. I'm looking to you Karen. Keep your filthy unvaccinated child far from me. Asked me at a coffee shop if we served coffee. I stood there for 30 seconds, unsure how to respond. Crazy lady hails me while I'm ringing up her candy, giving me dirty gazes and openly berating me. Supervisor sees it on camera and lets me know that I handled it with grace. I hope for the sake of other retail employees you don't encounter her. 2 stars. What a bitch, but I got commended. Sounds Wikipedia org just shows how inconsistent people's value systems are. A pretty high rated comment says good customers should get good service. Bad customers should be given the bare minimum or thrown out if they are abusive or disruptive. Players in a game called League of Legends are usually strongly in favor of a prisoner's island, where poorly rated players in behavior are made lower class citizens and matched with others who are similar. When the system or the consensus aligns with your values or is relatively trivial, it appears to be justice. But then these same people strongly criticize the same concept by distrusting authority and power in such a scenario, and even the democratic nature of it all, claiming that the error would be too great. Idiots all around. How well they tip duck this tipping culture in America. Everyone who argues with me about the procedures I have to do because of COVID-19. You all get their own review. Sorry mom, I don't care. If you come from a family of nurses, my mom is a nurse too. I'm still gonna put your waffle cone in a bag and your ice cream in a separate bowl. Stop complaining about your ice cream when you shouldn't even be leaving your house to come to a Baskin Robbins anyway. Have a good day. How the F is Baskin Robbins considered essential? OMG, everyone is making the same comment about China and Black Mirror. Listen y'all. He said imagine for a reason. Stfu. Grown man asked for the kids' BBQ chicken. When he received it, he complained that it was not enough food. After trying to explain the difference between the kid and adult menu to him for 5 minutes and him asking for the manager, he got the meal free extra food and didn't tip at all. 0-star customer 4, 5 stars finesse. The customer yelled at me for doing my job, and when I wouldn't give them what they wanted they threatened to call the police. I told her to calm down multiple times and she didn't enjoy this whatsoever and demanded for me to get my manager. And when I told her I'm the manager, she was flabbergasted, and then I banned her from ever going to any of my stores again. She finally said I'll get this place shut down. But to this day the store still stands 0 5th stars. Called me claiming his TV was broken and that he had tried everything. The fact that the power cord wasn't plugged in proved that wrong. 1/5 stars. He did manage to plug the cable back in. I can't think of a review, so feel free to help me out. One of my last shifts, I work at a breakfast spot. I suggested avocado eggs Benny add bacon. The girls said we are going to do avocado toast add bacon, so I put it in. Boom boom boom. It comes out and they said, oh no, we ordered avocado Benny add bacon, like you suggested. And I'm like, no, avo toast plus bacon. But anyway, fast forward through the whole acting, like I cared. They don't know how to order. One keeps it, one gets my suggestion, pay, yada yada. So our tables are very close together. Like when you exit a table your ear is gonna hit the table next to you. My other guests, mom and daughter, were sitting right next to them the whole time. Wrote a note when they themselves cashed out and said, she definitely said avocado toast. Which also means the girls were sitting there talking chiz enough for my other guests to even take their time to do so. And leads to an amazing smile on my face to this day. 4,000 of quarantine. Customer was polite and grateful even when I brought his food out late. Despite neglecting to refill his drink for 30 minutes, he still thanked me when I finally did and left a decent tip. I couldn't have an interaction with the customer without him smiling and thanking me for whatever it was I did. 10/10ths would serve again. I've got two things at play in my head. My dad always told me that everyone should work retail and at a restaurant at some point, just so they know what it's like, and to treat people with respect. Fight Club. Clean food, please. Oh, the things that they could do to your food if you're a jerk. It's always about the tips with you ducking beggars. Uber already has that. A few years ago I predicted that eventually we are going to get there. Already the industry is taking steps in that direction. There are companies that collect returns scanning for abuse and then share those reports with other companies. So if someone returns too much stuff at Best Buy, then Target will know too. The way I think it's going to work is that there will be buyers clubs or award clubs, independent from any retailers, but owned by non-profit cooperatives of the major retailer, with a nominal membership of let's say $9.99/month. The members will have access to special discounts, maybe at a separate website, or, quite possibly, at the official retailers' websites, Amazon, Apple, etc. These are 5-star consumers, low returns, low complaints to customer service, etc. Isn't China doing this with their social credit system? As a call center agent, this is a chiz we dream of happening, so let me pour out what I always wanted to say. This customer seems to have a very weak English comprehension and too lazy to read her emails. We have sent her a detailed instruction via email on how to order online, but she keeps on replying to our system generated email and claim that we did not help her. We have sent the same instruction email several times, but she is still dissatisfied, claiming that our instructions are not easy to understand and says that we are not helping at all. This customer should be barred service from our company. 0 stars. None, because this is a dystopic nightmare. Sounds like China's social credit system implemented by a private market. On how well they tip, at or only in America would they judge a person's character based on his wealth. Neonatal IQ nurse, when encouraged to participate in daily cares, baby's mom stated gross, I don't change poopy diapers, current parental rating 1/5 stars, would not recommend. Seems Orwellian. Flight attendants secretly do this to point out unruly or exceptional customers. Oh my, you watched until the end? That's fucking awesome, dude. Thanks for watching.